Cape Cod Broadcasting weaves the listening environments of 99.9 WQRC, Ocean 104.7, WFCC Classical 107.5, Cape Country 104, and CapeCon.com's website experience to reflect the lifestyles of the people who live, work, and play on Cape Cod. We hope that you enjoy this podcast.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. I'm here in the studio with Shannon Eldredge and Morgan Parker, who are with the Cape and Islands office of the Fishing Partnership Support Services, which is located in Chatham. Thank you both for being here with me today.
Thanks for having us.
Let's start by you introducing yourself to listeners.
Sure. I'm Shannon. We sound alike because we're sisters. We grew up in Chatham in a fishing family. I work with my father. He's still a fisherman. And we have a fish weir business in Nantucket Sound out of Stage Harbor. And I do a lot of advocacy work for fishing families. I'm on the board of directors of the Women of Fishing Families, a nonprofit organization that helps provide direct emergency financial assistance to fishing families on the Lower Cape. And I'm also on the board of directors of the Northwest Atlantic Marine Alliance, which is a regional fisheries advocacy organization that supports fishing families and the health of our ocean ecosystem.
I'm Morgan, and I'm not fishing with my family, but I am helping support the community-supported fishery that we have for our business, and also doing the navigator work for the Fishing Partnership office.
And what was that like growing up in a fishing family?
Growing up in a fishing family, was normal for us because a lot of the friends that we had in our community in Chatham were also kids of fishing families. So it wasn't really, a unique circumstance until moving away for college and being introduced to people who thought, wow, that's really interesting. But, having said that, reflecting back, my father was, my mom gives this great story about my father would leave before, sunrise in the morning, and he'd come home, after a long day of fishing and packing fish in the height of the season, way after our bedtime. And so she says that we used to say, does Daddy live here? And that's really common amongst fishing families still. These guys are working really hard, and they're gone a lot, and the homestead really feels it. So the support network between fishing families has to remain strong in a community.
Have you noticed a change in the town as the fishing industry has changed?
Oh, yeah. The shoreside infrastructure is certainly a lot different. It used to be fish shanties and shellfish shanties and shucking houses and, net storage buildings and, fish piers. I mean, we're talking hundreds of years ago, but, all through our lifetime even. And now, the economy has changed to be a more seasonal economy and a tourist economy in Chatham. So fishing remains essential to our community's economy, but there's this kind of added element where the shoreside infrastructure, the priorities are different. But seafood's still in the restaurants and in the fish markets, and people come to Chatham and come to Cape Cod to eat seafood, and they just need to remember who's catching that and who's harvesting it and who's working tirelessly to put it on the dinner plates of all the folks that want to have that authentic Cape Cod experience.
Now, we think of Chatham as having really the last surviving fishing fleet on the Cape. How many boats are there now, and how many were there when you guys were growing up?
We talk about this quite a bit, actually. Because our harbor, where we grew up in Stage Harbor, used to be this bustling, amazing group of fishermen and community members, and now it's very, very quiet. I don't know how big the fleet is down there now exactly.
I think Chatham has at least 50 boats at the Chatham Harbor side, the fish pier side. Provincetown has seen a big hit with most of the ground fish fleet not being able to fish anymore. So, there's not as many fishermen operating out of Provincetown, but Hyannis definitely has the sea clam boats, the quahog boats, the scallop boats. But what's encouraging actually is that we are seeing in the work that we're doing with the fishing partnership, helping fishermen get access to a multitude of services, we are seeing the young up-and-coming fishermen being able to be creative with what's out there. So they might get a lobster permit or quota for a small scalloper, and they're trying to enter the fishery, but the access to enter the fishery, especially ground fishing, is still very limited. And we have to remember, too, that Cape Cod has a lot of folks who are shellfishing, scratching for quahogs, the aquaculture off the bayside and off the islands as well, the shellfish aquaculture, and steamer diggers, musselers, and that's a fairly healthy population of people, and so we have to keep those folks in mind as well.
Now, explain what the Fishing Partnership is.
Somewhere in the mid-'90s,
the Fishing Partnership Health Plan was founded, and that was the subsidized health plan for commercial fishermen, and it allowed fishermen to have health insurance based on their income. Once the state did their subsidized health plan, the Fishing Partnership decided to expand their program and become Fishing Partnership Support Services, no longer offering the health insurance plan.
And offering the other services that are like, now the Fishing Partnership Support Services has become sort of this human resources department for independent fishing families.
What kinds of services does it offer now?
Well, in addition to the helping fishermen and their families navigate through the health plans, getting health insurance coverage, we also do safety at sea training, safety and survival at sea training. We hold those day-long courses to show fishermen they have different modules that they go through where they learn firefighting skills, using a survival suit, putting it on, what's inside of a life raft. Most fishermen don't even need to use a life raft. They don't know what's in it. We show them how to deploy it, what the tools are in there, how to be safe in it, how to survive in it. We also do offer CPR and first aid certification to commercial fishermen, also with a little piece of ergonomics, show them how to be comfortable and work safely so they don't get hurt. We also have healthy harbor interventions, which are we offer flu, tetanus, and pneumonia vaccines, health screenings such as blood pressure, glucose, cholesterol screenings. We do skin cancer screenings, hearing tests, vision tests. And we also host dental clinics where we do discounted dental cleanings for commercial fishermen and families.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. I'm talking to Shannon Eldredge and Morgan Parker with the Fishing Partnership Support Services. How important is health insurance for fishing families?
It is one of the most important things that fishermen can do for their families is get health insurance. We have a bunch of statistics that we don't want to have in our backlog of information, but they're there. Fishing is one of the most dangerous jobs in the country, and fishermen, ground fishermen specifically, are 37 times more likely to die on the job than any other career. And a lot of the fishermen that fall under that category, and fishermen generally, don't have access to health insurance because their income fluctuates. They fall under different plans at different times in the year, and they might be eligible for different things, and then they can't afford it when their season may not go as well as they thought it was going to. It's just impossible to predict their income. And because health insurance is, in the state of Massachusetts is income-based, it's very difficult. So fishermen have trouble, dealing with that. Plus, no fishermen got into the business, so they had to, because they have to fill out a whole bunch of forms. So we're here to help them get that access. And, one of the other things that we like to share is that, even the toughest fishermen can break an arm, break a leg, slip and fall on the deck. Anything can happen out there. It is so dangerous. I know. I work in the industry. The weather can kick up and it can get really scary, and the safety at sea trainings can help, but that health insurance coverage is gonna help with the fallout if something does happen. So we just want to make sure that fishermen know that we're here to help them get that access to care coverage.
And if they do fall and break an arm or get hurt, have to go to the hospital without that health insurance coverage, their family is looking at having to pay huge medical bills that in a fishing family is not always easy because that income is not always there. And we try to make them aware that they're doing this not only for themselves but for their families as well. So we really push that information that they get the coverage.
Now, Shannon, you were talking about how you fish with your dad.
I started fishing 13 years ago when I was 18. So I was shell fishing. A lot of my friends in my high school class would go digging steamers on Monomoy to help pay for college, and I did that. I was able to pay my way through school. And when I graduated from college was the year we had the disastrous red tide in 2005. And I couldn't go shell fishing. My father, who owns and operates fish weirs in Nantucket Sound, I happened to come home at the height of the season. He was having a pretty good year and hired me to help pack fish on the dock. And I went on the boat and started crewing with him to help, cull out fish and all that stuff. And I just really fell in love with it. So I fished with him on and off throughout the years, and different circumstances led to this or that. I had land jobs, but I eventually a couple of years ago made the decision that I wanted to take over the business because I love the fish weirs. And so my partner Russell and I, we approached my family and asked if we could go full time. And so that's what we're doing in the spring and summer, and I work with the fishing partnership full-time in the winter and still doing the outreach in the spring and summer while I'm fishing, and it's really wonderful.
Now, people talk about overfishing and the regulations and how those have changed the industry. Has that affected your father's business and other fishermen in Chatham, and how has that affected people?
Yeah, so it's more complex than overfishing. The fishing industry is in a crisis. The ground fishery was just declared a federal disaster in New England, and that every kind of fishery is affected by overfishing with industrial scale factory trawlers offshore, with climate change, predation. There's a lot of seals out there. The ecosystem is a very fragile thing, and the resource is affected by that. So there's a number of things, and they all affect all fishermen in our community and across the Cape and Island. Shell fishermen, fin fishermen, recreational fishermen. Everybody's affected, and regulations are then put in place. Unfortunately, a lot of the regulations are reactionary to what happens in the ecosystem, and the fishermen are the ones that are making the biggest sacrifices based on the decisions made by policymakers. And at this stage, a lot of fishermen can't make any more sacrifices. Their incomes have been reduced, and they've had to sell off their boats or permits, and it's becoming more and more difficult for them to make a living that they were used to. So they're adapting. But that's the thing about fishermen, is that they are resilient and adaptive, and that they do, work together in a community to try to support each other. And that's why the fishing partnership is so important, because we help them in the fallout. We act as navigators. It's more than just the access to care and health insurance. It's more than just the safety trainings. We're having interactions with fishermen on a daily basis. And one of the things that we do is we feel like a lot of times almost like counselors. They come in and they're having a conversation with us about their circumstance. And, the fishing partnership hires folks from fishing families because we know what it's like.
Now, you had mentioned seals and that they've come to the area, as we know, in great abundance, and fishermen are upset about that. We've heard that over the past few years. What effect do the seals have on fishermen? What are the fishermen saying about the seals?
So seals eat fish, and they eat everything, and they eat a lot, and they fish 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They're very aggressive, and they're very adapted to fishing gear now. And my father says 20 years ago, when we set up our traps, it'd be kind of an anomaly to see a seal 20 yards away or 50 yards away. Whoa, look at him, he's getting so close. Now they're going in and out of the gear like they own it, and they're very comfortable. And other kinds of fisheries will say the same thing. Gillnet fishermen and offshore boats, they're inshore, they're offshore, they're everywhere, and they're protected. So it's fishermen collaborating with scientists to try to find a solution that works, but it will take a long time because they're a protected mammal, and we can't touch them and we can't do anything, and we want to find a common solution, but it's not an easy one, and it's not going to happen soon.
Any final words you'd like to add in the final minute or so we have left about the fishing partnership?
Yes, I wanted to add that there's one more program that we have that is extremely important to fishermen. And as Shannon mentioned, that we are kind of a human resources department. Well, we also offer a members assistance program, which is a 24-hour-a-day service through an 800 number for fishermen that need mental health services, financial services, child care, pet care, any kind of services that they need through an 800 number. And also that, if there's anything else that fishermen need, they can certainly go onto our website, fishingpartnership.org, or give Shannon or myself a phone call. Our information's on the website. We have brochures all over the Cape, and
they can always pop into our office. We're located at Stage Harbor, 3 Champlain Road, and our phone number is 508-237-9402, fishingpartnership.org.
And unfortunately, we're out of time, and thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal.
This podcast is a presentation of Cape Cod Broadcasting, which is solely responsible for its content. Thank you for listening. For more information, please visit us at capecodbroadcasting.com.